bite-sized sports. Kick back and relax. It's a laid-back stream here at the Wild World of Sports. We are checking out all the crazy, wacky, wild, and some of the mundane stories in the sports world. Where should we start? How about with a little BSD re- Where do we begin with this first one? The Bucks win this one by 12 despite Giannis Antetokounmpo playing only 9 minutes, scoring only 2 points. Fingers crossed he's okay. Bulls, that decision to not sell at the All-Star break, or should I say the trade deadline, not looking good in hindsight. They are just kind of sad right now. Lost to the Pacers the other night as well. All-Star break couldn't come sooner for Chicago. They're going to have to regroup if they're going to have any chance in the Eastern Conference. Wizards, speaking of not having much of a chance in the Eastern Conference, the Washington Wizards eked one out against Minnesota. I want to check out this box score because earlier tonight on The Bounce at the Stadium Rant YouTube channel, you can check that out right now or whenever we're done, we were talking about the potential for this Minnesota team. I think Mike Conley's a good fit there. So did James. And I want to see how it played out tonight. Wow. Not very well at all. At least on the scoreboard. A goose egg. 33 minutes, 0 of 6 from the field. 3 of those were from beyond the arc. A rebound. 2 rebounds. 6 assists, 2 steals. No turnovers. He was a -3. Not a... Outside of the goose egg on the scoreboard, not a terrible game. As far as inefficiencies, he had 0 turnovers, 6 assists. You'd like a couple more. Everything, don't love that. But hey, Anthony Edwards, 34 points. My fantasy team loves that. What's your NBA fantasy team looking like? Let me know in a comment below. If you have a question, fire away. We're hanging out. Get chat, and we might put you up on screen as well as answer your question. Looking at this, tell the story of the game here. Minnesota actually got out to a huge lead. I'm surprised. It was a fourth quarter. Oh, what a collapse. 38-19 in the fourth quarter. That will do it, won't it, folks? Yikes. All right, let's finish our recap here of Thursday night action. The last night of the first half of the NBA, we have the Rising Star Challenge starting tomorrow night, Friday night. We have the just freshly wrapped up Clippers and Suns game. I will have you know they are the ones to blame for our late start. They wanted to go ahead and just let that game finish because my computer, I think it's time to take her in to see the doctor, because trying to even set up the StreamYard studio and watch the game on YouTube TV was not happening. So blame it on the Clippers and Suns for our late start there. But Clippers did it once again, 116-107. Of course, has to be noted, no Kevin Durant in Phoenix. Not expected to see him until sometime after the All-Star break. Let's take a deeper look here. Not the same night we saw on Tuesday from Kawhi. 5 of 18. Couldn't hit a 3. Much less efficient. Still a +9. Only 2 turnovers. From what I saw, by the time I got to watch this one, it was already in hand. Got to watch the final minutes. Again, one more plug for The Bounce over at Stadium Rant. We record every Thursday. We are live at 9 p.m. Eastern. We tend to go about an hour and a half. So you can check us out from at least 9 to 10. I can guarantee you an hour. I've never seen us go less than 45 minutes. That was when we were first starting up. So check us out, and maybe someday soon I can get James to join me for a special stream here. But in the meantime, get back to this game. Short rotation for LA. No Covington. Although, it's not that short in hindsight. I expect to see Covington play more often, but what? Maybe some Amir Coffee? I don't know. Yeah, this is interesting to me. I'm seeing 6 did not play, 6, 7. And just earlier tonight, we were talking about the Clippers' strength being their depth and their bench. And here's a night where Eric Gordon only had 13. I will say he had a key strip there at the end. The game might have been in hand, in your opinion, but Devin Booker was driving for a bucket late. It was a 6-point game at the time, I do believe. And Gordon got the strip there, but 13 points from him. Bones Highland with 9. I look forward. I see Indiana. ESPN's got him listed as a point guard here. I don't know about that. I'd like to go check that tape and see how many minutes Bones got at the point as our primary ball handler. We had Terrence Mann in the starting lineup. Morris, the only non-contributor really offensively. Terrence Mann ties Paul George for 26. Interesting game. Man. Phoenix would have won this one with Kevin Durant, though. That's certainly got to be the takeaway. 24 points from Okogie. Okay. All right. TJ Warren, only 8 minutes, 2 points. At some point, I'm still a believer at some point that if we get to see TJ Warren at full strength, get maybe 18, 20 minutes, I think he could be a very solid contributor for this team off the bench. Now, I know they added Terrence Ross. I do not see. Oh, he did get 25 minutes, 16 points, 7 of 17. Now, only 1 of 8 from 3. Now, that is not a stereotypical Terrence Ross night, all right? So you can expect him to do better than 1 for 8 in his next Phoenix outing. So I wouldn't be too stressed about that. -6. He did get some assists, though, and some rebounds. I think Terrence Ross was a very good signing. Now, I don't have my tracker pulled up, but I do, as you know, those of you who longtime viewers / listeners, I am a managing editor over at the Last Word on Sports, covering the NBA and college basketball. So we've been tracking the buyout market. So far, there have been 4 of the 14 names that we've been following that have signed. Of course, Terrence Ross being one. Another is Reggie Jackson signing with Denver. We have Dwayne Dedman signing with Philly. And oh my goodness, the 4th one is slipping my mind. My apologies. I don't have it pulled up. But nonetheless, Terrence Ross, I think, is a good addition going to Phoenix. There's at least 10 more names we're going to see. Of course, Russell Westbrook's the one drawing the most attention. We will get to him later. Got some conflicting reports. Woj, Shams, everybody's got a different idea of what is going on. So now's a good time to mention, let me know who you think Russell Westbrook will sign with should he take a buyout. The Clippers are on that list. Do you think he will sit out for the whole season? Because I've heard this. I saw Legion Hoops tweeted it, and then they quickly deleted that tweet, that it was possible that Russ was going to just sit out the rest of the regular season, easy for me to say, in order to set himself up for next year. I'm not buying that at all, but that's putting the cart before the horse there. We'll get back to Russ here momentarily. Just putting a cap on this. This is the final game of the first half of the season. The Clippers, I said it in our last podcast episode, if this team stays healthy and they add that point guard, whether it be Westbrook or somebody else. I do think they want one more ball handler on this roster. If they stay healthy, I think this team could find their way to the middle of the Western Conference in that playoff hunt. I think they could be right there. Oh, Kawhi Leonard, he wasn't Terminator tonight. Up until today, I think the Ringer put out an article earlier. We talked about it on Tuesday. He was back in silent assassin mode. This is perfectly fine to see him drop down. They got the win. That's what's important. But I don't know. Keep an eye out for the Clippers. I really like this team right now. Denver's still the favorite, absolutely, and I think Phoenix might even be when healthy. And once we get to the playoffs, Phoenix might be better. It's common sense right now, or at least the common thought, that Phoenix is already better because of the stars, but they have to play together first. Now, go check out our footage on the bounce for my full thoughts on why I think Kevin Durant will pretty seamlessly fit into what Phoenix is doing. I don't want to steal away from that content, so I encourage you, please go check it out on the bounce. We talk about why having Devin Booker already as part of that roster makes adding Kevin Durant pretty easy. I will say that. I will give you that. But go check it out. Would much appreciate it. And let them know that I sent you, so that folks, my bosses over at Stadium Rant will be happy. But let's move on from this game, shall we? And I'm going to scroll through the Twitter feed. Bear with me, having some internet issues here for a second. And let's add this here. We've got most of our stories here. I'm going to stray away from the videos. I'm going to be honest. I had some videos queued up. We may save those for the next episode. Hold up. Just because if it's already getting wonky on me. That's the downside of these late night streams, guys. For some reason, my internet here is not as good late at night as it is throughout the rest of the day. Which, anyway, I thought it would be better. No one else is on the internet. That's part of the point here. But let's get back to it. We're going to talk about the NBA All-Star Weekend a little bit. One of the coolest stories coming into it, my personal, admittedly biased favorite to win the dunk contest, is Mac McClung, who is getting his two-way option picked up by the Philadelphia 76ers. So good timing there. I hope he puts on a show. He claims that he has two dunks that he's never seen in the NBA dunk contest that he plans to pull out. I think he's the odds-on favorite for me. Kenyon Martin Jr. is the other name I'd look at, and admittedly, that would be a bit nostalgic for me. It makes me feel old. Watched his dad play, but knowing that, I know that he's had a good dunk coach, so don't be surprised if Kenyon Martin Jr. pulls it out. I will say, as far as the three-point contest goes, I'm being a full-on homer here. Got Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield in the three-point contest. No Indiana Pacer ever has won it, and that includes Reggie Miller. So they have a quarter of the field. Give me Tyrese or Buddy, just the odds. But if I'm being completely objective, Damian Lillard. We got to see Dame win one, right? In their 4-point ball, he's going to be money on that. Logo Lillard. Let's switch to the NFL for a moment, shall we? Now, we all know how the Super Bowl ended, and we all know that the final play, well, the final, I guess, real play, it's hard to categorize it that way, that field goal ending. Here we go. A.J. Brown had some thoughts, and we talked about this on the podcast, so those of you who already caught this, bear with me momentarily, but here it is on the feed. I want to talk about it. A.J. Brown not the only one to take issue with Juju Smith-Schuster's tweet here. Now, I want to point out, just in case those of you watching don't know, Juju didn't make this. Someone else made like a sheet of funny, comedic themed football Valentines. I put that in quotes because I think obviously comedy is subjective, and if you're, say, an Eagles fan, you probably don't find this, or an Eagles player, to be more pointed, you don't find any of this very funny right now. It's a little too soon. But A.J. Brown says, first off, congratulations. Y'all deserve it. This is lame. You were on the way out of the league before Mahomes resurrected your career on your 1-year deal. TikTok boy. Oh, gets him with the TikTok boy. He admitted that he grabbed you, but don't act like you're like that or ever was. But congratulations again. Well, I mean, AJ Brown is objectively better than Juju Smith-Schuster. So fine, if he wants to say, don't act like you're like that or ever was, I'm not going to argue with that. That's I got no room to speak there. The TikTok boy thing, I don't know. I love that. Do we all love that? Whether or not you agree with it, I think Juju has earned the ire of many from his previous TikTok antics. So this certainly isn't going to warm him up to anyone. But A.J. Brown wasn't the only one. Former Eagle LeGarrette Blount regurgitated a bunch of stats back to him. It was actually quite a knockout. A lot of people had a lot to say. You know what? Let's just look at some Juju quote tweets. Why not? There's only 10,000 of them to look at. I'm sure we've got some gems here. Oh, man. To TikTok boy, it's there's just going to be a ton of roasting Juju Smith-Schuster in here with Eli Apple. Oh, that's another one. Actually, we're going to go back because that could get pretty chaotic, just randomly scrolling through 10,000 quote tweets, because at some point we will come back to this. At some point we share a tweet here. Let's see. Man played victim. I'm logging off here for today. And here it is. At some point in the timeline, as I was saying, we get to some deleted tweets. There was another deleted tweet from A.J. Brown about Pat Mahomes put out something about man must be bored. This whole thing is it's hilarious to me. I feel like worlds are colliding. This feels like an episode of the Clout Route, but we're talking about sports. Deleted tweet from James Bradbury, Eli Apple. I now understand why you do it. Oh, man. Wide receivers and cornerbacks. I think of all professional athletes, those guys have to walk such a fine line. They have to be almost like they have to force themselves to be a head case of sorts, because you have to be the man at all times. You have to believe it. You always see, my grandpa gets annoyed when he sees a corner celebrating. If let's say it's an overthrown or underthrown ball, uncatchable. But then you see the corner putting on a show, acting out, harumph. But I get it, man. You have to have a short memory. You have to have an ego to do that. And so this stuff cracks me up, though, to see it acting. Twitter isn't the football field. And it just cracks me up. Oh, we fell off of our own profile here. Oh, shout out to the Bite Size Sports iRacing car. We're going to get to this. This is actually where we're going to wrap the show. But we did have a good outing tonight. Go ahead and check out the stream. We will share that later, but South Shore Racing, shout out to them. Shout out to David Westergreen. That's our boy right there. Finished 8th, and then as you can see, got taken out. That's where that 24th came in, but we'll share that later. Let me switch off here. Scratch that. Patrick Mahomes. We're going to stick with the Super Bowl for a minute, because not only did our man risk it all for that chug, but he also almost gave the trophy away. This is maybe my favorite clip. Here's a little palate cleanser for you. get off of Twitter drama and on to what it's all about right here. Fans meeting their heroes and their heroes gifting them the Super Bowl trophy. Let me ask you, who wore it better? Drunk Tom Brady chucking the Super Bowl trophy from one boat to another, or Pat Mahomes taking a photo with his fans and leaving the trophy behind? I love it. Do you have an opinion on this? Or I was questioning it a little bit myself today, actually, with there being multiple memories, because there's also Matt Stafford, okay? And Matt Stafford's was not as jovial as Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes. I hate to bring a somber moment into what started as a palate cleanser, but it just came to mind. I had forgotten in pre-production about the Matt Stafford situation, in which a photographer fell off the stage. And he kind of laughs about it and walks off. But that brings me to my point. Are we concerned about the level of sobriety or lack thereof at Super Bowl parades? Now, I'm not anti-partying. I'm not anti-blowing off steam by any means. I think these guys should do what they have done, with the exception of Stafford not helping someone who fell off of and hurt herself. That one shouldn't have been done, no matter how drunk you are. But Brady and Mahomes getting drunk. I don't have a problem with people getting drunk. I don't have a problem with athletes in general getting drunk in public, so long as they're abiding by the law. I'm not the morality police here. But I wonder, with such a big machine, the business that the NFL is, how much longer are they going to be content with guys getting this wasted in their Super Bowl parades? Is this an endearing look to the public? Because all of us adults, we don't care. We all are like, oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah, I drink like that on a Thursday because it's been a rough week, or whatever. To each their own. However you do what you do, a lot of us don't really care. But there are those parents, I'm guessing, that their young children look up to these, especially guys like Brady and Mahomes. Not as much Stafford. Not to say that there aren't kids that look up to him. I know he's had an impact, but Brady for 2 decades has essentially been the face of the NFL, and Mahomes has taken that mantle, and make no mistake, he took it while Brady was still here. I think one of the cooler things about that Madden cover, whichever Madden games suck now, don't take that as an endorsement, but having the two of them on a cover was cool because it was a handing of the torch. But I wonder if the NFL isn't going to crack down on this. You had Travis Kelce rocking a Bud Light chain, which felt like a plant because that's the official sponsor. It's a beer sponsor. Are they official sponsor? I know they used to be. Anyway, I'm sure the NFL was not mad about the Bud Light placement. Probably worked that in. That might have been a paid. Somebody else might have paid for that chain and might have even paid Travis to wear it. However, the Twitter day and age, when you can see stuff like this, how long is it going to be until the people are up in arms and demanding no more drunken behavior from our superstars? I love it. I can't believe he handed that guy. Okay, moving on from me being a downer about guys having fun at their Super Bowl celebrations. Did you know that the Colts have requested to interview Jacksonville Jaguars passing game coordinator Jim Bob Cooter for their vacant offensive coordinator position? Now, I know what you're thinking, Jim Bob Cooter. Yes, that is in fact the head coach that I would create in, let's say, Madden '06 or something. I don't know. Does that not sound like a creative player or, like I said, a Madden coach name? No offense to you, Jim Bob. All in good fun. But yeah, it's the cooter part that makes it sound like one of those bend over type names you make in NCAA '07 when you were a youngster. But anyway, not only did Jim Bob Cooter get a call, but T. Martin of the Baltimore Ravens staff has been asked to interview for the Colts offensive coordinator job. And I have some thoughts on that. Not a big fan. No issues with T. Martin, by the way. I believe I'm going to do some research live here, Pro Football Reference, and see if T. Martin is in fact the former Tennessee Volunteers football player. Because if that's the case, then not only do I not have an issue with the guy, but he's, that's the same guy. Tamarese T. Martin. I did not know that. So T. Martin's a former Tennessee Volunteer. Those of you who don't know, most of you probably didn't. I hail from Knoxville. Actually born at the University of Tennessee Hospital. So while I'm a Notre Dame fan, I was raised in Indiana. I have a special place in my heart for the Volunteers. So I love me some T. Martin. All right? Make no mistake about this. But T. Martin is the wide receivers coach for the Baltimore Ravens. The same Baltimore Ravens who went, was it 11 weeks without a wide receiver catching a touchdown pass? Granted, their best receiver missed most of the year. But still, this has not been a team over the last couple of years that has been known for its stellar wide receiver play. So I hope the Colts look elsewhere, and for that reason, I'd be pretty happy with Jim Bob Cooter here. I've heard some other names out there. Now, shout out to my dear friend Boom McGinty over at horseshoepride.com, which is a good time for me to mention, horseshoepride.com. Go check it out if you're a Colts fan. Yours truly, a member of the staff, but go check it out. We got my friend Chris there. He runs the show. Megan Hall of Colts Wire, USA Today Colts coverage. She is rocking it. She is a featured writer there. We got Chip Bennett. We got Justin Perkins. Great staff over there at Colts Wire. But back to my point, not at Colts Wire. Yes, at Colts Wire, but at Horseshoe Pride. Sorry, guys, it's late. Back to my point. Byron Leftwich, Boom McGinty over at Horseshoe Pride mentioned Byron Leftwich, who is a name that A, I like, and B, is someone that I would have considered and still would consider because of previous success. But the noted issue there, it has been the decline in Tampa Bay's offense since Bruce Arians is no longer calling the shots to that level. I would be willing to give Leftwich a pass on some of that, though. I don't know how much of this last year would be on injured receivers and skill players and then declining skills of Tom Brady. And maybe, and these aren't in order, mind you, but maybe also some of that offensive line play, and didn't get great work out of their running backs this year either. So I know there were a lot of familiar names in Tampa on the offensive side of the ball this year, but I don't know how full that cupboard actually was. And for that, I'll say, I won't be surprised to see Byron Leftwich get another offensive coordinator job this year, and I won't be angry if it ends up being with Indianapolis. But right now, of the names I've heard, gimme Jim Bob Cooter, sure. I like what I saw from Doug Peterson's offense and from their passing game last season. And he's got other experience too as well that would give me confidence. But forgive me for that tangent, you non-Colts fans. That was actually not really intended, but that's how it goes here on the late night wild world of sports stream. So let's kick it back. We've got to get back down to some news here. As I take this brief moment to mention, most of our episodes and all of our podcasts are also available audio only. So if you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts, go and check us out. So we are finally back. Let me see. We are here at Broken Ben Simmons. Now, according to Zach Lowe, I've reached a point where I just bad for him, Ben Simmons. He's clearly a broken player mentally. He's scared of contact and shooting at the basket. It's just sad to watch because we all know what this guy was. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I have to go back to the idea that this could be the yips. I don't know what else it could be other than a mental block of some kind, because yeah, he was never a good shooter, but he was fine at attacking the rim, making layups, and there's not being a good shooter, and then there's shooting 39% from the free throw line. And there's that stat line. 1 of 2 from the floor, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers in 13 minutes. And you heard that clip about Jacques Vaughn, or from Jacques Vaughn, those of you that did, talking about how it's hard to find a place to play him. If you're playing him at the point guard, no one's expecting him to shoot. You can't really play him at the power forward. He's not going to do anything for the spacing of play. It's bad. Let me know what you think. Would another change of scenery do anything? I don't see how a trade is made at this point, unless it's a future salary related move with a buyout. You know, if they add Ben Simmons to some other package. Brooklyn has a lot of draft picks. Oh, I shouldn't say a lot, because I think in order to acquire their 16 game big three, they had to move off of some assets. So they've got some assets in return, is what I'll say, from Kyrie and KD. But so maybe this is something next year, if this young core with Bridges, who had 45 earlier this week, and Dinwiddie, who's back, and Claxton, Cam Johnson, maybe as they start to win a year from now, they make a trade to a team that's bottoming out, and much like we're seeing with, say, Westbrook, we see that albatross of a contract get bought out, and then someone like Orlando, just because they seem to be an island of misfit toys, so to speak. You know, maybe he gets another chance. Or I don't want this, but a place like Indiana, a place that has a history of taking guys who haven't done much with previous opportunities or have missed out on opportunities, and maybe he can fly under the radar and pull some kind of comeback, you know? Seeing some good things from Cam Reddish in his time in Portland already, so you never know. Change of scenery could do it. Ben Simmons might just be a guy who needs to play in a small market for a while. You know, he might just need to go play somewhere, go out west, where most of your games are played at 10 p.m. Eastern, but nobody's watching. Maybe go do that for a couple years. See how much of this comes back. But let me know what you think. Is it a case of the yips? Is it over? Is there a physical injury here? Now, I'm going to pull this video up. We're going back to the football world for a minute. I want to tell you guys this. I think this video is one of the realest things I've seen. It's emotional. It's going to tug at your heartstrings. So I really want you to be prepared for what you're getting yourself into. So grab a cup of water if you need to. And take a seat. I do advise you to sit down for this. And here we go.
All right. We'll see you soon.
This is new coach, new
He's in there?
Cardinals coach.
Now it's a done deal.
Hang tight.
Hang tight, he says. Love that there's phones out already.
Let's go.
Let's go.
There you go. Let's go. We're ready. Let's go. We're ready to go this thing for you. Yes, sir. And go this thing for you, man. Let's go. Let's go win. Got it? I got you.
100% authentic, is it not? That just seemed super real to all of you guys. That was the first time they met. Let's go win. Are you guys, you clappers? You like to walk in a room and just clap aggressively? Let's go. Let's go win. This is corny to me. It's corny and it's fake. You got dudes with their phones out filming it already. We'll let it roll in the background here. We'll just see this again, see how real this is. Let's go win. Kyler's in the gym. Oh, he's here? Oh my goodness. It's so fake. It's off to a bad start. I hate this. It's corny. It's cheesy. Making me root against you. You're making me root for DeAndre Hopkins to get traded somewhere else as long as it's not in the AFC South. I don't know, man. I don't know. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. You let me know in the comments below how you feel about this incredibly authentic, emotional video. And speaking of some authentic emotions, we got some beef between a future Hall of Fame point guard and a current Hall of Fame point guard. Not that there is an NBA Hall of Fame, it's just a basketball Hall of Fame, kind of lumps everything in all at once, but that's not the issue today. It is an issue, it's just not the issue today. This is false, says Zeke, the original Isaiah Thomas. I have always been extremely positive whenever I have spoke about Steph Curry. Stop lying, people. Stop lying about Zeke. Who's the liar, you ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. Stephen A. Smith. What? Hang on. What? Stephen A. Smith lied about something? What? No way. Stephen A. Smith comes out with a hyperbole in the name of clicks and views? What? I would never. Next thing you'll tell me, Skip Bayless is full of shit too. No way. Would never believe that. Isaiah Thomas said to me being Stephen A. Smith, we are now back to quoting. Isaiah Thomas said to me that if he was playing in our era, he would not have averaged more than 18 points a game. Wow. So Stephen A. Smith is alleging that Isaiah Thomas claimed that if Steph Curry played in the 80s and early 90s, he would average no more than 18 points per game. Isaiah Thomas says, nonsense. I've always been extremely positive whenever I've talked about this guy. Interesting. Now, I know Isaiah's had some beefs in his life. Most of them, I think, were in his playing days, or at least in his coaching and active general managing days. I don't know Isaiah Thomas in his current life to be someone who just starts crap for no reason, or who has talked down to the current generation. He's not one of those back in my day guys, to my knowledge currently. And I've already shared my opinion on Stephen A. Smith and how trustworthy I find him to be as a source. So I would say don't trust any of this. But I also want to ask you, how many points do you think Steph Curry would average back in that day? Because sure, there were the clotheslines. You had your Bill Lambiers and your Kurt Rambuses, or is it Ramby? I don't know. Your Bill Waltons. At that point, Bill Walton was a little hurt, a little beat up. But anyway, you get my drift. You had your enforcers, sure, your Rick Mahorns, young Denny Rodman, Del Curry, Steph's dad, did play in that era or a little after. I know he was playing in the early and mid 90s. He was not the player that Steph was, and that's totally fine. He was still an NBA player. He played so great. In his time, was one of the great three-point shooters in the league. So these are weird, hypothetical, multiverse questions that no one can really answer. But I tend to think if you took Steph Curry with his current skill set and put him in that era, that he would do just fine. He might find himself scoring fewer points at the bucket if they were doing sort of a Jordan rules hard foul situation, because he doesn't have quite the stature that Jordan had or the frame. But other than that, I think Steph Curry is still lighting fools up in the 80s and 90s. I make no mistake. So I don't think Isaiah Thomas believes this. I'm not certain that he actually said it, but that's neither here nor there. So now these allegations I can confirm. Colts owner Jim Irsay says his relationship with Chicago Bears goes back more than 60 years. Lincoln Park Zoo, there it is. Jimmy Irsay riding a bear. Now that's insane. I starting to understand this guy a little bit more each and every day. Now my question for you here, is this just another Jim Irsay troll job? Because I think at this point he knows that he has a bit of a Twitter following, and I think he's using it to his advantage to blow smoke screens. And I took after this idea from Megan Hall and the homies over at Horseshoe Pride, because we were on her podcast, Real Life Blue Stories, where the entire Horseshoe Pride.com staff was on, because we used to do a podcast called The Indy Intercept together on Stadium Rant. Check it out. The archives are there, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts. But yeah, Jim Irsay, I think he played a lot of people with the Jeff Saturday thing. Now that we have seen what has come out of that, it doesn't seem like Jimmy really was as committed to Jeff as he was telling everyone. It's a bit of a work brother, as they say. I think this could be a ploy. Knowing that the Texans are ahead of the Colts and also looking for a quarterback, knowing how Chris Ballard works, I think this could be an attempt by Jim Irsay to get the Texans to try to bundle up some assets and trade up one spot just to draft a quarterback that the Colts have no interest in drafting anyway. Because with Steichen, I think these guys have a newfound belief that they will be able to build an offense around a quarterback regardless of that quarterback's prototype, because he's done it with different quarterbacks with completely different styles, and he's managed to build offenses around those guys. So I think the Colts have someone in mind at 4 that they're confident is going to be there at 4, and they're trying to drive up that asking price for the Bears. Now, I've also seen some debate now about whether or not the Bears are confident with Justin Fields and if he's going to be the guy going forward. I'm not sold on that. I think he's going to be the guy they're going to roll with him. So I do think there is some merit in the idea that the Bears might trade out of the 1 spot, but it's also a team that has a lot of holes. So there's certainly some value for there's someone that they can get that will help them out at 1, but if the return is good enough, especially from a team like Houston or even Chicago or even Indianapolis, if it does end up being true, if you're only moving back a couple spots and you can add some assets, then it becomes well, like you said, we got plenty of holes to fill, and this is the best way to go about filling multiple ones. So keep an eye on Chicago. I don't know what they're doing. Like I said, I won't be surprised if they pick at 1, but the conversation seems to be trending that they'll be trading out. Now, another conversation that continues to trend on Twitter and hopefully will gain even more steam until we get what we need. For some reason, the NBA thinks we've all forgotten about Karl Malone and his grossness. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I can only say this for the sake of future monetization and just the overall health of this channel. I'm not going to go into details on the many issues that Karl Malone has had. I will simply say to you this. Google Karl Malone 13 years. And that should do it. That'll do it for you. It'll tell you all you need to know. Now, I will say we went away from this exercise previously, but I think this will paint a pretty good picture because no one outside of the NBA, it seems, wants anything to do with Karl Malone being involved with All-Star Weekend. He says, I am on a mission to take care of my retired brothers. Play that card. If someone has financial hardship, what can we do about it? I can't execute the plan, but I'm going to put it in play, and I'm not going to take no for an answer. Yeah, not a good phrase to come from Karl. I'm going to look at the original here and look at some of these quote tweets because there will be a theme here. I promise you. Okay, of course, the first guy's calling him a legend. Certainly not the first time Karl Malone didn't take no for an answer. Yeah, he beat me by 1 second. I actually, wasn't going to make that joke, but now that it's read, the last line of this, you're not going to what? It's bad, man. And it's weird that I'm not going to take no for an answer makes this even worse. But that's really not even the issue. The issue is that he shouldn't be anywhere near this space. Again, like the kids in Utah seeing this funny meme, the LeBron thing in black and white, I get it. But the reality is that, this guy shouldn't be allowed anywhere near kids just because a family accepted a buyout doesn't mean that this guy is safe to be around children in society. It's crazy that the NBA would willingly extend a handout to this guy. I don't know what his status is as a former legend. I don't care if the game is in Utah. Let's go back and look at another tweet as it relates to the Karl Malone situation. Because again, I'm not going to take no for an answer has gotten overbilled in my opinion. Certainly a terrible choice of words. And but it's more than just that. He shouldn't be here. And why the NBA is doing this makes absolutely no sense to me. Was he going to judge the dunk contest? I'm looking for the tweet here. We'll pull it up so you don't just have to look at my frustrated face. Kevin Love's on the buyout. Yeah, see, this was the deleted tweet. We're going to go to Russell Westbrook here in a second, but that tweet was deleted, stating that Russell Westbrook was not likely, but that he was considering sitting out the rest of the year in order to set himself up for a contract next season. So, which Legion Hoops had tweeted right after. So Westbrook has been discussing potential trades with these 4 teams, and then the second tweet was he's also considering sitting out the year, but then it got deleted. So I'm not sure about that. Let me get to this Karl Malone business. Maybe it was on the main. Maybe it was on our channel, on the channel Twitter. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. My apologies for the delay here. If you see a big flexing dude in a Jazz jersey, you'll know we're there. Here it is, and that's why it was behind. So yeah, Legion Hoops again. Shout out. They've made a big appearance here today. Oh, let's not do that. Let's go to the quote tweets. Some of these could be bad. We might have to look. Yeah, considering how they treated Kyrie like a supervillain, this is weird. Very different things, but again, yes, there's no world where Karl Malone should be welcomed back into the NBA with open arms. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm not sorry, but it's unbelievable, and I apologize for my lack of adequate thought here, but my main attempt with this brief portion of the show is just to call this out, that you see all the jokes about 13. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should probably be able to pick up on it by now. You shouldn't have an NBA career in the first place. The fact that, yeah, because that's true. That should be noted. The 13 thing, the big issue with Karl Malone, one of many, mind you, because he's had plenty of children with plenty of women. There's a lot of other issues morality wise with why Karl Malone shouldn't be a part of this, but the big one, like the one that would have criminal implications, allegedly, had it not been for a settlement out of court or some sort of, I believe it was actually alleged that the family was paid to essentially almost give like retroactive consent. The whole thing is icky, it's murky, it's gross, but at the end of the day, it happened when Karl Malone was in college. He was an adult, mind you, but it happened when I was in college. So that quote tweet, I think there's a lot of merit to that. Karl Malone probably shouldn't have been in the NBA in the first place, and you can bet your ass he would not have made it to the NBA if he was a college athlete today who had done what he had been accused of and what. Yeah, I can't even say he's been accused of, because they had a child. You can look that up as well, because that son of Karl Malone played in the NFL. So, again, you can also look at his daughter who made it to the WNBA, and you can hear about other ways in which Karl Malone is kind of a dirtbag, just as far as being a bad father. So, no, NBA, what are we doing? There is no place for this. There's no room, no rhyme or reason for it. Makes no sense whatsoever. Keep Karl Malone out of All-Star Weekend. Please, for the love of everything, find a replacement. I don't care if it's Byron Russell. Get Greg Ostertag's ass out there. Anyone but Karl Malone. This man should not be in an arena that will likely be packed with children. Done. Moving on. All right. It is time to get back to the sports of it all, okay? We talked about a creep for a minute because we had to. Got to keep the creeps out of the game. But we talked about the 4 teams Russ Westbrook could be joining. Shams said when you look at teams around the league, there's not a spot for Russell. I don't know if he's referring to the idea that Russell won't be willing to take a team-friendly contract, or that he's going to want to sign for more than just the rest of this year. I just disagree with this wholeheartedly. And he's got the sources, but at the same time, so many other people are reporting that there are up to 4 teams interested in Westbrook. So I feel okay in questioning Shams on this one. But let me know what you think. Is Russell Westbrook gonna sit out for the rest of this season? Is there nowhere where he can fit? Might the Jazz even just consider playing him? I think probably not. That's expensive. It's expensive for a guy who's only going to help you win a few games that you don't even really want to win anymore. All right, let's listen to some Kyrie here.
What happened? What happened on that,
Man, I'm still trying to emotionally recover, man. Goodness, still so raw. Oh, man.
Crazy.
I would have liked to at least get a shot up. Obviously, with Luka taking it in the backcourt, kind of on that steal attempt, it messed up our spacing a bit. We were going for a quick 2. That was the plan. It didn't end up going that way, and I should have just gave Luka a little bit more spacing. And then I thought I had a shot attempt on the second time he drove and kicked, and then I was expecting Theo to be in a spot, and it's just ended the clock, and adrenaline's running high. Anything could happen, so I got to get a shot up, if anything, or allow Luka to have some space to get a shot and not turn the ball over in that situation. So it's on me.
I almost cut him off, but a lot of good stuff I'm hearing there. Feels like he's clearly still, like he says, still trying to emotionally recover, and you can see it. Keeps pulling the hat over his eyes and stuff. I feel for him, but this is good stuff. And not only as a fan do I love hearing smart players like Kyrie, and make no mistake, despite what goes on outside of basketball, Kyrie's a very intelligent basketball player. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to the game of basketball. And so to hear him break it down like that, the hoops nerd in me loves to hear that stuff. But to a different degree, the accountability is great. We're off to a great start there. He's acknowledging places where he could have done better, and I this is exactly what you want to see, especially if you were one of the people who was questioning whether or not this duo would work. So we'll let Kyrie finish this
Just be smarter in those situations. But if we look at the overall game, I'm just grateful we were even in that position. We scored 39 in the fourth. I gave ourselves a chance, and that's all we can ask for. At the end of the game, it's just about execution.
And it is worth noting that they haven't had a chance really to put the full team together. Kyrie and Luka, I think, have only played once together so far. So they'll have some time to heal up over the weekend, with games don't start again until a week from, yesterday at this point. Next Thursday, we'll finally get some games again, so it'll be interesting to see what Dallas can put together. I think Kyrie may just be a rental, but Dallas could make a run with those two if they stay healthy. Ooh, look out. Someone who wasn't able to stay healthy was Anthony Simons, and he will be replaced in the three-point contest by Julius Randle. And that's all I got to say about that, because I already told you who I think is going to win, and it ain't the Knicks. Okay, and here we go. We were talking about it before, the bite-size sports race car. I don't have the photo handy. Well, we're going to release the non-getting wrecked photo handy, so this is not great. I have our old stuff. I'll show you the throwback. Why not? Just for old time's sake. You can see the old bite-sized sports car here. I'm going to remove this. You can, whoops. Did I put that as a background? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, I have them as backgrounds, not overlays. Well, look at this. We'll show this as a background too real quick. And there you go. Look at that. So that's the old bite-sized sports car. So here we have the new one. There we are, number 9. We have the same similar paint scheme, but imagine the black and white reversed there. But we had our first good here, as you see, 13th, finished 8th in the first heat, 24th in the second because of the wreckage. But yeah, our boy David Westergreen, he does good work. He's got some bad luck. This happened to us a little bit happened to us a lot last year with the old car in a different series, not in this series, where he kept getting wiped out by other drivers. It'll happen to you in iRacing. It can get pretty wild out there, but it's a lot of fun to watch. Very happy to be involved with the South Shore Racing team. And let me take this moment. We got to pop this here and shout out to some of their other sponsors because we're all in this together. So look at that. Give them a little bit of shout out screen time here. South Shore Racing says huge thank you to Traders Brewing and Benham and Turkey. Hey, look at that. That's Nate Dogg. Oh, yeah. Nate Dogg is another sponsor. Did you know that? He is not only a part of this team because he's a part of our team. He actually connected me with David, got us into this whole sponsoring thing a couple years ago when we started sponsoring iRacing cars in the first place. But now Nate's got his own car sponsored through Traders Brewing. We've also got the DSCR League and J Eckert 90 on Twitter. And of course, that's us right there, Bite Size Sports and moi and VRA League for being on our cars this season and supporting us. Well, we appreciate you, South Shore Racing. Like I said, I am very happy, honored to be a part of this team. I look forward to it. It's the only bummer for me is that these races take place while I'm live streaming the bounce. And unfortunately, we started the bounce before we knew that the sponsored, that the car that we sponsored was going to be racing at that same time. But now I'm kind of locked in on Thursday. So you can expect me and hopefully Nate at some point, and maybe even David, to start doing some recaps of these. I'll do some coverage of it. But yeah, go ahead and check it out. We got to get back to the link here. I will show it to you, but there it is, OSCA. Check it out on YouTube. 2023 Weekend Woodsman Series. So there it is. Check that out. You will see us hanging out at the front of the pack for that first heat. That is for sure. Let me get you a little circle in on that. Traders Brewing, just because my friend works for that company. So of course they're going to get a little extra push here. Why not? Love it. So excited to be part of iRacing. I hope Nate gets on board and starts driving. I had thought about it. It's on my to-do list, but you guys, I kind of suck at NASCAR heat, so it's going to be a minute before I get good enough at freaking racing to do it on a computer with other real drivers. Like, just no way. Hey, shout out to Last Word on Basketball. Yeah, I know those guys. Check it out. Big college tournament time. We just did a trade deadline stuff. We got the buyout market coming up. Everything you could think of over at Last Word on Basketball. Check it out. What do we have left here on our slate? That is it, folks. And that will absolutely do it for us. We hit an hour here. I'm pretty happy. I wasn't sure we were going to get there, but I appreciate you hanging out. We will do this more frequently. We are still working on our regularly set schedule here at Bite Size Sports. We got some potentially big things in the works. You might be seeing more faces than just mine. Of course, you'll be seeing more of Nate. You'll be seeing more of Sean. But yeah, I'm working on some things for you guys. That's why you've seen some shows get started. But then, with biting early and late night bites, there are things that are starting up that, other collaborations might be coming in to take their place. So the best way to stay on top of it would just be to have those notifications turned on. But in the meantime, you can, of course, just follow us at Bite Size Sports on Twitter. The information is right there on the screen. If you're listening, it's Bite_Size Sports. Also, Bite Size Sports with no underscore anywhere on Instagram and TikTok. Also Facebook, if that's your jive. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you hanging out. We will see you another time.
This dude just did this